Hairstylist girlies, fix your attitude. And it has nothing to do with y'all can miss me with forget respectability politics and trying to be more like white people. Timeliness is not a white trait, honey. And she was like, you're supposed to come in with all of this already combed out. Baby, I'm about to give you $600, literally. Just comb my knots out for me and be sweet to me. I will give you well above what you're asking for. Be sweet to me. So no, it's not a man telling you to be kind, because I know I'm so sick of men telling us what to do. No, it's me, your big sister. Be kind. And so I can keep giving you more money. I gave you a $10 tip this time because you was nasty to me. But if you treat me a little sweet, girl, I'll give you $100 over, because I love supporting Black women. Y'all are my favorite, truly. But I need y'all to rise up a little bit with y'all attitudes, because they stink. Hello there, critical thinkers. How are you doing today? Welcome back to the Bastion of Critical Thinking. And if you're new here, welcome to our Bastion. This is the place where we critique and reform culture, and we learn how to reform ourselves as a culture and as a people who are consistently leveling up ourselves. And so welcome. Today, we will be talking about something that I know is kind of controversial, and I'm not gonna front, I'm a little scared, but I don't care, because we gotta be honest about it. And that's what I'm here to do. And if you haven't seen from all of my other videos, baby, I don't hold back. But that's because we need that. Like, honestly, we've been lying to each other for far too long about some things, or we have these conversations in private and we talk about them with our homegirls and our homeboys. But then when it's time to actually be honest about it in public, we feel scared to do it, right? Or we just have these conversations in like these niche spaces within the internet, but then they just kind of die off. And so I like to kind of bring critical thought and somewhat partially academic perspective to these things that we kind of talk about in pop culture to help us reform them, right? That's what we do over here. We critique and reform culture so that we can bring solutions to it. So anyway, with that being said, today, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, and then I'm going to tell you my perspective about why this happened to me within this story. So I've been on this journey to find a good hairstylist, right? I've gone to so many good girls, and I'm talking about good girls, right? Girls who, I mean, this is a wig now, but let me tell you, the girls know how to do hair, and I've gone to the best of them, right? And as I started to make more money within my career, you know how it is, like you start to make a little bit more money. It's like, okay, now I can go to the girl who charged $600 for a sew-in instead of, the little $250 girl or whatever. And not to say that any of them is worse or better, but it, as you elevate, your taste elevate. Anyway, okay, so I went to the girl. This was right, I was in DC, and I was living in DC, and I started to make a little bit more money when I was working out in Congress, and I was also doing therapy on the side. Child, listen, work ethic.
What's my point? Work ethic.
So I was making a bit more money, so I was like, let me spread a little bit of a coin. And also my man too, he was really good to me at that time. I was like, let me spend a little bit more coin. I saw this girl on the internet. I will spare her name because I'm not even going to do that. This is more about the collective and not that one person. But if you know who you are, catch my eye roll. Anyway, so I bought a plane ticket. I was in DC, but once I saw her on Instagram, I was like, oh, okay, this is fire. And she had at the time, I think maybe 50,000 followers. So I'm like, okay, this girl's kind of serious. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this girl, cool. So long story short, I booked a plane ticket, had to fly out from BWI because the cheap tickets, because I bought a Spirit ticket, I'm not even gonna lie. I was making money, but I'm like, Raven, if you're about to spend $1,000 on hair, the least you can do is buy a little cheap ticket. So I bought a little cheap ticket to Atlanta, the hair mecca. I didn't know it at the time because I was a broke girl, right? But once I started getting a little money, I was like, oh, okay, let's go to the hair mecca where all the hair girlies are. Fly down to Atlanta to get my hair done. Okay, I get to the girl. I take my Uber and all of that. I had just planned on flying in that morning and flying right back out because I work, It was just a one-day thing. So I flew in that morning. Long story short, as you can imagine, what's the first thing that we already know that all hairstylists do? They be late, right? They're always late. Okay, so she was late, but I expected that. Okay, cool. Well, she was about an hour late the first time, but you know what? It's okay because I'm a stranger in the city. So I'm walking around outside her salon out in Buckhead, and I'm just walking around. It's cute. It's whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Long story short, that first time, it was cool. She did a great job, obviously. She was late, and she also made me late. Because she was late, then she also made me late. So I had to schedule my flight out a little bit later. I had to pay more money for a later flight, but I was like, cool, whatever. Got the hair done. It was cute. Great. The first time, cool. She was about an hour late, made me have to spend more money, but whatever. It is what it is. You know, she's a cool girl. It was cute. Well, so fast forward, I was like, I wanted to get my hair done by her again. So I went to her again the following month. And I had spent like $700 altogether. And if you add the flight, I spent about $1,000. Don't judge me about my financial decisions. It is what it is, right? This time is for the story time and for the reform of the culture. But anyway, so the next month I did it again because I had an event to go to and I was like, oh, I want fresh bundles and I also want a fresh curl. And I just love the way this girl does hair. I had gotten so many compliments about it. So I flew to her again the following month. And now, so you'd imagine if I got a longer length this time, and if I paid 6 or 7, I forget, it was about 700. If I paid that much the last time, then as you can imagine with the longer hair and with a flight, all of that, this is about to be another $1,000, right? So I'm spending real money with this girl. Well, I fly into Atlanta again. And once I get there, she goes, oh, I'm going to be late today. Well, actually, she wasn't texting back. I was texting her on the plane to let her know, that I was en route, and I'd be there at X amount of time. I got like in the car and stuff, and it would have given me about a 10-minute grace, right? I was 10 minutes earlier than my appointment time, so I was in a good clear. And she texted and was like, she finally texted me once I got there because I was like, well, maybe she's washing. She's not texting back because she's washing somebody's hair or something. She wasn't texting. She finally texted back. I was like, oh, actually, I'm going to be late. And she was like, I'm waiting on an Amazon package. I was like, okay, whatever. So she's waiting on an Amazon package. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, there was no one at the salon to let me in, right? Because it was one of those, there's like booths, right? And there's like, it's like a big building and you rent out a specific place in a building. And so there was no one there at the time that I was there. And it was a hot Atlanta day. So I'm standing outside in the Atlanta heat. And then it was, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm waiting on her. And then it started to rain. And then mind you, we're 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in, right? And so I'm outside in the rain, walking around just aimlessly because nobody was there to let me into the building. So I'm walking around. The girl's like, okay, it's still not here. I'm like, okay. And then time fast forward, another hour goes by. Still not there. And so at this point I was like, I had asked her, I said, wait, will I get some money off of my ultimate price? And she was like, we can talk about that. We can talk about it. Shouldn't you be offering that to me? Like, at this point, now I'm like $2,000 in the hole with you, which is fine because I love offering my business to another Black woman, another person in general, but especially a Black woman who's getting it. You hairstylist girlies, I know y'all make bank, and I love it, and I love supporting that. And so I would come more frequently if I could. Like I want to put money in your pocket because you do me so well as far as the service that I get from you, the hair service, but she was like super short with me and super stoic and cold. And I was like, girl, if anything, why aren't you being extremely deferential to me? Not only am I a paying customer, but I am a consistent high paying customer. Again, I know that the girlies do this all the time, so it's not that I'm abnormal in that, but I just felt like I deserved a bit more respect. Nevertheless, she gets there finally about 2.5, maybe 3 hours, almost 3 hours late. It was like the 45 mark, so like 2.5 hours late. And I was just sitting there so flabbergasted. And even the way she was addressing me and engaging with me was just so short and stoic and cold. And I was like, did I do something to you? Like, why do you have an attitude with me? And you know what's funny? And this is kind of getting to the point of why I'm making this a story time on my page, because I know you're probably thinking like, this is such a deviation from the kind of content that I do. But I'm making a point with this. The reason why it stood out so much to me, one, was because I had never had to fully engage with hairstylist girlies. I'm sorry. I never had to fully engage with the Black hairstyle girlies, the Black hairstylist girlies. I just hadn't ever done that because I've always been a girl. I was somewhat of a latchkey kid, so I took care of myself, which means I taught myself how to do my hair. I did this, honey, I know how to do hair, right? But I started to go into the girls because I'm like, okay, I'm making a little bit more money. I have the autonomy and freedom to, stretch myself a bit and actually get pampered and treated well, and get like a professional hairstyle. So anyway, I had heard all the horror stories about the hairstylist girlies, especially the Atlanta ones, right? but I had never experienced that. And so it was jarring for me because I was like, why are y'all so mean? Why are y'all so aggressive? Why are y'all so, and let's be honest, unprofessional? And so anyway, my mind started to ruminate so much about all the potential things that it could be and the answers to all of those questions that I just asked. And, I came down to a few things. And so this is the point of my video. This is a place of culture that we have to reform because we don't want to be known. When I say we right now, I'm specifically meaning Black women in the hairstylist and beauty space. We don't want to be known as unprofessional and unbecoming of a professional. And it has nothing to do with y'all can miss me with forget respectability politics and trying to be more like white people and cozying up to whiteness. And I'm not whiteness. Timeliness is not a white trait, honey. Timeliness, punctuality, kindness, sweetness, being deferential to your customers, not to the point where you're self-sacrificing, but to the point that you respect people's hard-earned effort and money that they're giving to you, right? And support that they're giving to you. I don't care how good you get, honey. Humility and decency and kindness will always win out because y'all get a little money and act like it's a whole new world and act like you don't have to adhere to the same decent traits that all human beings have to adhere to. Kindness and decency goes a long way. And for some reason, the hairstylist girlies don't think that they have to adhere to that. And that's a problem. And the reason I'm talking about it within the zeitgeist of the videos that I talk about is because I want to reform culture and I want to go into all these incremental spaces in culture where I've had negative experiences or where I'm privy to negativity within that space. And I know that we can do better. So guess what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to go into all these niche spaces and challenge us to do better. Hairstylist girlies, fix your attitude. And I know, now, let me speak to this, and I may have to do a separate video on this, to be fair. I recognize that Black women, we get a bad rap for how we engage with people. And I'm gonna take my time with this because I really wanna make sure I'm not coming off as an elitist who is demeaning Black woman's demeanor, right? I know that there is a certain essence and air that Black women walk with and talk with and engage with other people with. One that is difficult for other people to understand. I get that, right? We are a bit more abrasive in how we talk. Black people are like this in general. Actually, no, this is equally Black men and women, but these traits are generally acceptable in a man because we expect our men to be frontward facing and abrasive and aggressive. We are okay with that in a man. But in women, it's shunned because women are seen as these demure creatures who are supposed to be docile and quiet and soft and move softly. And so Black women traditionally don't necessarily maneuver in the lens, not to say that that's everybody, but the exception does in fact prove the rule. And I'm a therapist. I've had so many Black women, I'm not just saying this, I've had so many Black women sit in my chair and cry about the fact that so many people around them call them aggressive and say that they're rough and they're mean, and they don't know how to change it because that's just their disposition. They know no other way to be. And I didn't necessarily grow up like that per se, because I grew up in a more suburban home, and I was hood adjacent, but I didn't grow up in the hood. And I mentioned the hood because I recognize that so much of that aggression and so much of that perceived vitriol that Black women speak with a lot of times really isn't them being mean or aggressive intentionally, but rather it's their lived experiences coming from the hood, right? Or coming from spaces that weren't necessarily kind to them and didn't give them the opportunities to cultivate a soft and traditionally feminine essence, right? If you grow up in a setting where a lot of the men are evil and they're leaving, or a lot of the people are evil and you didn't have a lot, and poverty forced you into having to be resilient and strong and push past and take care of people and all these things, of course you're not going to be this soft-spoken, quiet person who is generally sweet, because you're always having to look over your shoulder and you're always engaged with what they call low vibrational people, people who are also struggling, right? And so when you grow up in the struggle, I guess in essence what I'm saying is when you grow up in a struggle, it puts you on guard, right? And it forces you to have these walls up that makes it difficult for you to be vulnerable and soft and engage with people in a kind of a way. So anyway, all that to say, I get how Black women have become like that. And I'm not, heck, my mom is like that. We've had so many conversations about that. A lot of Black women that I love deeply, my sisters, my cousins, my proverbial sisters, they're like that, right? We talk with our hands, and yeah, we do roll our neck, right? We are more sassy than other women, generally speaking. But you know why? Because our lived experiences are reflective of that. And that's what they built. And there is a beauty in how we show up, right? Because we're caregivers, we're lovers, and we make sure that we are no nonsense because we don't take mess. So that way our communities can thrive and don't have to take the mess, because we oftentimes take it on the chest for them. So let's be clear. I'm about to critique it, but I'm not necessarily saying that it's this horrible thing that we should just rid ourselves of, because I get where it comes from. Now, with all those disclaimers out the way, we do have to be honest about the ways that it can be somewhat off-putting, and there are spaces and places where it's not necessarily appropriate. And the number one space that I can think of is in business. When you are a caregiver, when you are a service provider, rather, you do have to show up with a modicum of decency and respect and kindness and gentility, right? Because let me tell you an example. When I get to the girl, let's go back to the girl in Atlanta. I get to her salon and she's like, okay, sit down. Okay, over here. Like, she just talking to me so aggressive and so rough. And I'm like, baby girl, I'm sorry. Call it white, call it whatever you want. I'm used to, hey girl, how are you? Okay, cool. Yeah, no, definitely. And let me stop, because I know that may have sounded more Valley Girl-like. We can even talk in our vernacular. That's fine. But it's like, hey girl, okay. How did the hair do for you last time? Great. No, that's good. That's great. Okay. Well, have a seat over here. Raven, no, over there. Because sometimes what happened was I was a little ditzy and I sat in the wrong chair. And she was just so uptight and aggressive with me at that moment. And I was like, can you say it a little softer? Like, I just flew thousands of miles away. I'm hot. I'm tired. I've stood in the rain, right? And oh my God, my hair wasn't washed. And when she found out that my hair wasn't washed, she was mad at me. Baby, you're a stylist. That's what you do, right? Now, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt too, because maybe she wasn't mad, right? And that's another thing I found with this Black woman demeanor. Sometimes we don't even really be mad, a lot of them. Sometimes we just, that's just how we talk. And so it comes off as angry, because if you're not accustomed to dealing with people who speak in that manner, it can feel angry-like. But anyway, I was just kind of like turned off completely. And anyway, so then fast forward, some months go by and I try out like subsequently 3 other stylists from that time, and all have been great. Let's be clear. All have been amazing, but they be mean. They be aggressive. And again, if you're not accustomed to dealing with that, that can be really off-putting. Hello guys, Editing Raven here really quick, because I wanted to say just one thing about this part of the video, because I want to make sure that I'm being as nuanced as possible. I fully recognize that a lot of the girlies who are hair girlies are mean, because sometimes they come from different parts of the track. And what I mean is, sometimes the hair girlies aren't necessarily traditionally educated in the same way that a lot of us girlies who maybe come from more suburban sides of the track are. And so what happens is, even though these are our sisters and these are our cousins, and we all grew up in the same households, and we all grew up on sleeping on grandma's same floor, eating the same biscuits and grits that the girlies that didn't necessarily go to college did. What happens is, when you're traditionally educated, this is just my lived experiences, this is just what I've found in just socially engaging with people, so take it for what it's worth, but I'm not necessarily saying I'm wrong, so that's why I'm putting this in this video. Anyway, what happens is we get thrust into the chain of corporate world and the chains of respectability in a way that people who haven't gone through traditional education haven't, to the point where they have to change themselves, or change how they talk or change how they engage with people. And low key, I'm kind of jealous because sometimes I wish I could maneuver through the world without trying to think about what I'm gonna say, right? And giving into the whims of how whiteness makes you want to alter yourself so that you can fit in and assimilate better with the predominant culture, if you will. And so it has its pros and cons for sure. I'm not gonna just act like it's all bad. But anyway, saying that to say, so I think that's why a lot of the hair girls still struggle with attitude and struggle with customer service skills, right? And those soft skills. They haven't been sent through the same systems that the girls who have gone to college and that have worked in corporate spaces where it's predominantly white and you have to adjust to the dominant culture. If you haven't had to do that, then you will be a little bit more aggressive. But that doesn't mean that one is right or wrong. It just is different. And if you don't come from that space, I fully recognize that I'm coming up into their world. And so I do have to kind of adjust myself to them a bit. But also there are some baseline, basic things that it takes to be a business owner and, like I said, a service provider. And niceness and kindness is one of them, right? And that's okay to say. It doesn't mean you're trying to be white because I'm asking you to be kind. Or it doesn't mean that I'm asking you to be white because I'm asking you to be kind. However, I just wanted to pop in here and say I can see a difference there and I can see the distinction there. So I'm not just like oblivious. Okay, back to the video. So what's my suggestion here? I guess all I'm asking is that within this space of culture, within this tiny space that we occupy, I'm asking us, Black girls, my sisters, my loves, my cousins, my aunties, my mothers, all of y'all who I love deep. I gotta always say that I love y'all so deep. Let's try and pursue kindness a little bit more. Let's try and pursue. I know all of our lives, when people tell us to smile, we get angry and we get mad at that because don't tell me what to smile about. What do I got to smile about? Oh my gosh. And I get it. Again, I gave my little diatribe of why I understand where that comes from. But at the same time, I know that that hasn't served you, sis. And what I also know is that you don't want people to see you in that light either, right? I know you like the whole, I'm no nonsense and I don't take shit from nobody. And I know you like that, but it only serves you to only so long and only so far, right? But I want us to pursue softness, not for the sake of whiteness or respectability, but for the sake of our own minds, our own mental health, and our own peace. And with regard to the hairstylist space, because I'm coming back for that, baby, this is a business. The customer is always right. Does that mean you have to self-sacrifice to the point where you let them disrespect you and walk all over you? No, that's not what I'm saying. However, offer them some water. I know we haven't necessarily been taught all the proper ways to do business effectively, because let's just be clear, we have just gotten to the table. Black wealth and Black capital, regardless of what Instagram says, we all still very broke, including myself. No matter how many degrees and how much money we make, the reason why Black people are still broke is because we don't get the opportunity for our wealth to grow with us, right? Because we're always, once one person gets wealthy in the family, then we're always having to reach back and give back so much, right? So as much as we flex with all our designers and stuff like that, and trust me, I have plenty, we're still all very broke. And so with that, I'm saying that to say not as a shot, but rather as a recognition that I know we just got to the table, right? And so I know it's difficult for us to be in these like entrepreneurial spaces, having reached them in such unconventional ways a lot of times, right? A lot of us, I'm sure even with these stylists, the first ones in our families to do something like that, right? The first one in our families to rise up to these spaces. Not all of us, but a lot of us, right? And so what that means is you're just trying to navigate, heck, trying to do the money part or the bookings part or the marketing part or all of that stuff, so much so that it's difficult to create balance between the business side, the professional side, and still, reforming who you are as a business owner and as a service provider and all these things, right? This is all new to a lot of us, and I totally get it, and I do have grace. However, child, that's a part that you can't neglect. That's a part that you can't neglect. I don't want to be treated mean. And guess what, sis? I will pay you good. I still tip my girls good. The more money I make, the more I like to flex how much money I make. I'm being honest. So I'll tip you great. I want you to know that I love you, that you do great, that, if your kids are going to school or if your kids or whatever, like I want to support your life because you know why? Because I want you to be whole, happy, and well. So when you come in to touch my hair, you're not being mean to me. I had a stylist the other day comb my braids out because apparently I was supposed to come in with all my braids and knots and stuff completely taken down, which my braids were taken down, but you know, it was just a few, whatever, tangles in my hair. And she was like, you're supposed to come in with all of this already combed out. Baby, I'm about to give you $600, literally. Just comb my knots out for me and be sweet to me. I will give you well above what you're asking for. Be sweet to me. Be sweet. So no, it's not a man telling you to be kind, because I know I'm so sick of men telling us what to do. No, it's me, your big sister. Be kind. Be kind so I can keep giving you more money. I gave you a $10 tip this time because you was nasty to me. But if you treat me a little sweet, girl, I'll give you $100 over. No, and I don't even be having it half the time, but I love doing that because I love supporting Black women. Y'all are my favorite, truly. But I need y'all to rise up a little bit with y'all attitudes because they stink. I'm sorry. You hairstylists, girlies, love y'all so deep. Ooh, y'all be killing some hair. But man, y'all be funky. Attitudes, I mean. Offer me some water. Give me a little pretzel. Give me a peppermint, something. But stop being so mean to me, please, please. Okay? All right, y'all, I'm done. I hope that resonated. I really do, because I just want us to be better in all ways, in all factions of our culture. And I know I do the academic videos and stuff a lot too, but I'm digging for you. I'm coming for everybody. I really am, because I want us to improve in all ways, because I love us deep. What Monique say, I love us for real. I love us for real. Anyway, okay, y'all. I love you guys so much. And tell me what else you guys want me to, like, what other factions of culture do you want me to critique and give my comments on? Because I have plenty, and I have plenty to say if you can't tell. All right, later.